We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. And today on the show, we've got no guests. We aren't doing a live. It's just me here all by my lonesome. We do have some emails, as we commonly do, and it'll be interesting hearing those emails. We've got a lot of stuff going on, too, a lot of news that is happening. And it's weird. I've been feeling kind of strange as of late. Whenever I've talked to you about you before, I've told you I don't instill emotion into the way I feel. I hear people like Aaron Parnas saying, God, I got to take time off. I'm getting burnt out. I don't get burnt out because I don't let myself carry those burdens. I understand what they are, but if I sit and worry about it all day, it's going to take a lot out of me. And over my lifetime, I've learned how to kind of compartmentalize and not let emotions dictate how I feel. We're at a point right now when we've got to be able to fight. So if we have any emotions, it should be anger. And that's the one thing I wanted to point out. When I say I have no emotions when I do this, it's not meaning that I'm emotionless. I do have emotions. I have a lot of emotions. But the fact of the matter is emotions, they've got to be handled properly. Too often, too many people have these emotions and they control what you do. You get upset, you get scared, you get nervous, you get happy, and it makes you react out of emotions. So these emotions are, in fact, controlling you. Emotions are important, they're an important tool, but you've got to be able to control them yourself. If you can't control the emotions, you end up doing too stupid and crazy shit. If you use the emotions to your benefit, then things work out better. And you're probably saying, what do you mean using an emotion to your benefit? Well, I can explain the anger part of it. I see all the things going on and I find it very frustrating and angry how stupid people can continue to do the things and believe the things they do. Now, anger to some people means ranting, ranting, raving, screaming, crying, whatever. Um, to me, it's more of an intensity. And if you can take that anger and focus it on what you need to attend to and harness it and use it, it's a lot of power, it's a lot of energy that you can use to your benefit. And that's something all of us really need to try to do because it's real easy to lose your shit with what's going on now. And as I've said before, with all these things going on, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all of this, it seems insurmountable. And there is nobody, me or somebody in the government, can fix all of it in a hurry. What we have to do is step back and say, okay, where's our problems? Pick the biggest problem, focus on it, and do what we can to fix it. And then when that's done, we move on to the next one. It is a little slow, it is a little plodding, but that's the only way to get it done. Otherwise, you're going to get scared, you're going to curl up in a corner, and nothing's going to get done. We have a lot hanging over our head right now. We have a lot of shit going on, and it may seem to like some folks that Armageddon is on the doorstep and we'll never get through this. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. And the reason I say that is because we've always gotten through. We've always pushed through the darkest times or the most difficult times. And these are pretty difficult times. They're unique too, because we've not gone through this too much before. But nonetheless, we are a resilient and resourceful group of folks in America. And we're starting to see people come together now, whether it be in town hall meetings or in protest or that sort of thing. There comes a point, there comes a line for everybody. You can only go so far and then you stand up and push back. And I think we're heading toward that point if we haven't already surpassed it. And I think this situation with the press conference between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Zelensky might have been a turning point for us. Donald Trump exposed himself in that press conference. He exposed, there's always been talk and accusations. Donald Trump's a Russian asset. He's siding with Vladimir Putin. Well, after that press conference, there is no question about it. He is siding with Vladimir Putin over Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine, which is strange because Ukraine is an ally of ours. And we've got Russia, which is an adversarial country. It's in fact an enemy of ours. And we know they're an enemy because they were recently sanctioned for meddling in our last election. They don't wish the best for us. They aren't here to help us. They're here to hurt us. And the idea of having a president that sides with them and does what he can to benefit them is truly troubling. I think we're getting closer to the point where the Republicans say enough is enough. I know you're telling me they're never going to do that. I disagree. It's going to go too far. And this press conference may have been too far. That doesn't mean they're going to do it tomorrow or next week or next month, but we're headed down that path. Again, everybody saw what was going on. And that's what I find so funny about Republicans. Marco Rubio and people like that are coming out and they are saying things like, well, I can't believe that Zelensky started this fight and became contentious. What are you talking about, motherfucker? I watched it. Millions and millions of people who watched it. That's not what happened. Again, this is what they do. They try to gaslight you. It isn't what you saw. This is what really happened. Well, that's bullshit. That's not what happened. And one of the things that Donald Trump was trying to do and J.D. Vance was trying to do is trying to humiliate Zelensky, because that's what Putin wants to be done. They want to make him a villain. They want to make him look stupid. In fact, what they did, because Donald Trump is so incompetent and so is J.D. Vance, they made him out to be kind of an underdog hero. People all around the world, people all around this country are supporting Zelensky in spite of what Donald Trump was trying to do. And while he will deny that he started this shit, we all know what happened. We saw it. And the idea that he might be trying to diminish Zelensky, well, he may have tried, but it certainly didn't work. I wanted to bring something else up too. I did a TikTok about this. It really kind of angered me because it was so petty and so childish. Before the press conference started, there was a reporter who yelled out to President Zelensky, said, "Why aren't you wearing a suit in the White House? Do you even own a suit?" And I thought, who is this piece of shit? So I did a little investigation. Didn't take long to find out. Turns out this guy is a guy by the name of Brian Glenn, and he works for America Voice, which is a shitty radical right network. And what I thought was so interesting about it is he's a nobody for all intents and purposes, but he is known for something. And he's known for being Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. Really, motherfucker? You're going to be dating Marjorie Taylor Greene and you're calling people out for what they wear, for Christ's sake. But since we're asking questions, I had some questions to ask him. Why is it he has to go outside his species to find a date? You got some kind of Neanderthal kink going on there, bitch? The other thing is that why do you work at this radical right Kool-Aid stand and not a real media outlet? Clearly, your talent isn't up to par. And I looked at your suit. And I guess I didn't realize that Montgomery Ward was still open. And just a little fashion tip for Marjorie Taylor Greene. When you're walking the halls of Congress, stand up a little straighter because your knuckles are dragging on the floor, you Neanderthal piece of shit. That's the thing about these things. Everything is so childish, and people will say to me, I can't believe you resorted to calling names. You can't believe it? Well, then you don't know me very well. I'm not going to take the high road. I'm going to take the low road. I think what we need to do is get in the mud and fight on their level, because we can beat them on their level. And that level is all they understand. Being above it all or taking the high road clearly hasn't worked over the last 8 years. So when something doesn't work, doesn't it make sense? Well, maybe we will do something different. Jasmine Crockett is proving that when you get in their face and talk some shit, they don't do anything. They don't like somebody who's going to be aggressive, who might push back. That's just not the way bullies do business. They want somebody who's going to cower and does submit to them. I'm not going to do it. Jasmine Crockett's not going to do it, and neither are you. Henceforth, we get in their face, call it the way we see it, and tell them they're pussy-ass bitches because, well, they're fucking pussy-ass bitches. That's just the way it is. My point is They're trying very hard to spin the narrative on this, and it's clearly not working. It's not working at all. It's not working in this country, and it's not working around the world. Donald Trump clearly comes out as the villain. He comes out as the malignant narcissist asshole. JD Vance is a malignant narcissist asshole, and he's just as stupid as Donald Trump. Zelensky looked good in this thing. He did everything he had to do. He knew he had to stand up to them a little bit. But as I've said before in previous podcasts, the problem is that Donald Trump either set him up to do this so he could have an excuse to pull all the funding from Ukraine, or because he was just trying to bully Zelensky. Donald Trump thinks he's the biggest, baddest, the country and him, biggest, baddest, so he can intimidate anybody he wants. He was trying to work out this deal, and people got on Zelensky for having the audacity to ask a question, but it was a legitimate question. If we're in fact doing a fucking negotiation, if you want, or somebody's asking you to give something, it's reasonable to ask, what am I getting in return? And that's what happened. Donald Trump says we want the mineral rights, and when we sign that off, everything will be good for you. But then the question was asked by the press, well, what kind of security guarantees do you have for the future? And he couldn't answer that. He wouldn't answer it. He says, securities, who knows about securities? Just sign the bill and we'll work out a deal later. And as I've said in previous podcasts, you don't cut that kind of deal with Donald Trump. You don't say, here's something of value, and Donald, you get me back later, okay? Because Donald will never get you back. He doesn't pay his bills. He fucks people every day of the week. So Zelensky was right in asking, you can have mineral rights, but what do I get? And Donald Trump wasn't prepared to suggest that he would give him anything, because he thinks that makes him look weak. It would probably piss off Putin. Donald Trump thought he could ramrod this guy and get him to do anything he wanted because he's so big and so powerful. Well, Zelensky showed him otherwise. And then Donald Trump got angry, said, if you don't sign this deal, we're out. We're not doing anything anymore. They're in the process of trying to pull back all of their funding, their support, which is abhorrent, and essentially kicked Zelensky out of the White House. This is further bullying, showing that he means business. I'm going to kick him out, and as soon as he goes out the door, he's going to be terrified because he'll no longer have the support of the United States of America. But Zelensky wasn't going to give up his integrity for Donald Trump. He's a decent person. He's the leader of a legitimate country who's being attacked by a superpower. Donald Trump says things like, you have no cards. With us, you have some cards, but you have no cards. Zelensky said, we're not playing cards here. My people are dying. My cities are being destroyed. And that's the problem. Donald Trump doesn't look at it as humanity or as destruction. He looks at it as a win for him and a loss for the other guy. That's how Donald Trump does business. And that's why no deal was cut. I said this before this all occurred. Donald Trump said, well, Zelensky's coming Friday. We're going to sign the deal. It's all going to be good. And I'm going to be the hero because I got the big win. And at that point, it sounded kind of fishy to me. First of all, Donald Trump is a pathological liar. So everything he says is suspect. Secondly, we hadn't heard what he was going to offer Zelensky. The only thing I'd heard up to that point was, well, this will be repayment for what we've already given him. Really? Zelensky isn't worried about what he's already got. He's got the future to look forward to, and he's got some serious fighting, and he's got a formidable foe that he's got to fight against. He needs help in the future. There was no rules that he had to pay back what the United States gave them. The United States had some skin in the game. If Russia takes over Ukraine, they're certainly going to go into Poland and then maybe further into Europe. So Europe is concerned about this, and America should be concerned about this. If it goes into NATO countries, then we're in World War III. So we had every good reason to invest in this war to keep Russia from pushing through. You know, it's one thing that Donald Trump is refusing to help Ukraine. That's one thing. The really horrific thing here is it seems like he's willing to help the aggressor, the enemy. And somebody brought something up, and I think I brought it up with Eric. Somebody had a question in the YouTube live. Do you think that Donald Trump would supply weapons and money to Russia? Because understand, Russia's getting their ass kicked. They've lost 700,000 soldiers. They've lost all kinds of equipment. Their economy is in the shit can. They've got all kinds of trouble. They need help too. And there's nobody to give them help unless Donald Trump decides to. Now, for me, I have a feeling that if he decided to do that, that would be a huge break for a lot of Republicans. That would be perceived as the red line, as it were. And I couldn't really answer, will Donald Trump attempt to help support Russia in this war? Now, in normal situations, I would say no, but that Donald Trump is involved, who the fuck knows? Who the really fuck knows at this point? We'll no doubt talk more about that with some of the emails. I wanted to bring something else up that just happened. A federal judge ruled Saturday that the head of a government watchdog agency, whom President Donald Trump is attempting to fire, is entitled to remain in the post, setting up a dispute that will almost certainly be decided in the Supreme Court. Now, the ruling from the district judge, Amy Berman Jackson, is a win for the head of the Office of Special Counsel, Hampton Dellinger, who sued the Trump administration over his firing in a case that has already gone to the Supreme Court. So yet another judge has told Donald Trump, what you're doing is illegal, you can't do it. And of course, Donald Trump will bring it to the Supreme Court. We're still waiting to find out what the Supreme Court will do about this federal funding freeze. They froze a bunch of stuff. They took it to court. The court said he can't do it. They took it to an appellate court, said he can't do it. And even still, Donald Trump has not unfrozen much of these funds. So he took it to the Supreme Court. Now, he had till midnight to Wednesday or Thursday to release the funds, and they are just refusing to do it. So they asked for a minor stay from the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court provided it. This is going to be an interesting test. This should be a clear-cut case where it should be turned down or turned away by the Supreme Court. Yet we have 6 conservative judges that oftentimes side with Donald Trump, so we don't honestly know what's going to happen. The Supreme Court's a little concerned about Donald Trump ignoring court decisions, and they may decide to push back to put Donald Trump in his place, because if he keeps ignoring court decisions, there's really no point to have courts, including the Supreme Court. If they want to save their own power, they would want to push back on this. But as I've always said, when I go into anything, especially this election and this administration, I always use logic and common sense. And what we found here is none of that matters, because none of this is logical. None of this is common sense. And it's just a free-for-all, and we don't know what to expect. All right, let's get to some emails. Starts out, I don't have much time to watch YouTube, but when I do, I love to watch you on your channel. I'm glad that I was able to reach out to you. Thank you for putting your contact information down for us to be able to reach you. I don't want to offend you, which means is get ready to get offended. I don't want to offend you in any way, but I wanted to mention that I noticed that little irritated area on your nose in your videos, and it reminds me of one of my best customers that I knew years and years ago when I worked at a bank as a teller. He worked in a cemetery, and he had something similar on his nose. When he finally went in to see the doctor about it, he was diagnosed with skin cancer. They ended up removing it all, and he deeply regretted not going in sooner to get it looked at earlier. Your nose reminds me of the spot that he had as well. I hope a little spot is benign and it lands up proving to you that I have no idea whatsoever what I'm talking about. I'd love for you to be around for a long time, my friend. Take care and never stop sharing your thoughts with all of us. Your best, Anjanette. Got some good news for you, Jeanette. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Now, excuse me. I'm not going to be mean here because she doesn't know. But on Jeanette, here's what you have to understand. This spot on my nose I've had on every day since I started doing TikToks 4 years ago, and it was there even before. Here's the deal. Every week, I literally get dozens and sometimes hundreds of these same comments. Hey, I saw that spot on your nose. I had an uncle who died from a spot like that. You better get it checked. I'm 65 years old. I do have health care. I even had cancer when I was younger. Doesn't it seem reasonable that I would check something like that out? And I've done that. And I knew it wasn't cancer in the first place because it doesn't look anything like cancer if you're up close. You're looking at me from a camera with lighting and all that stuff. It's a discoloration. It's a vascular thing. Of course, I've had it checked out. And I get a little frustrated because I hear about this a lot. And what troubles me about it is if you watch my videos and the only thing you can get out of it is the spot on my nose, I worry that you're not paying attention to the more important things. I'm a reasonably intelligent adult. I've lived to 65. Yeah, I had it checked probably 7, 8 years ago. I'm in my mid 60s and I have a lot of discolorations on my body. So do many people of my age. I appreciate the concern. I'm not mad at you, but I'm getting tired of answering this. I really am. Don't worry. I'm a big boy and I can handle my shit and I'm fine. All right. Next up. You folks have heard me whine about this. I get this a lot, 10 times a day, maybe 100 times a week. It's just fucking crazy. People are worried about this spot on my nose. It's fine. I'll be fine. All right. The next one says, hi, RB, longtime YouTube viewer, first time emailer. Hey, can you do me a solid? Can you promote National Economic Blackout Day that is happening this Friday, February 28th? We want to stick it to the billionaires who betrayed us by rolling back their DEI programs after they said they wouldn't. Time to boycott where it hurts them the most. These corporations don't value us, so they don't deserve our dollars. Usvi Lady, probably pronouncing that wrong. And of course, that blackout day is behind us. That was February 28th. It was a couple of days ago. I did talk about it a little bit. A lot of other people were talking about it. It happened. I don't know what impact it had, and I don't know how much participation it had. But I know there's another blackout week coming up for Amazon too. And I think anytime you can avoid using some of these people. See, the thing is, the blackout's one thing, but when I look at somebody like Amazon, I'm not using them at all anymore, ever, ever. I'm not going to take a day. I'm not going to take a week. I'm just not going to deal with them because I don't agree with the way they do business and who they support. Same goes for Target. Same goes for Walmart. I'm just not going to do it. I will promote it as more and more of these things come up. I'm not sure how they'll work out, if they are positive or negative. I'm hoping they're positive. I haven't seen any specific reports on what really happened. I'll wait to see what that happens. And if we got some results and if we got some a response to it and people actually did it, then we should keep promoting it because it is effective. I know I was talking to Old Soul and she says, I don't understand why taking one, going buying a bunch of stuff one day and then not buying another day. They still get the money. And that's true. And like I explained to Old Soul, this isn't about money yet with this blackout day. It's about showing solidarity. If people can go on social media and say, don't shop anywhere or at this place for one whole day and nobody shows up, that's going to get people to stand up and take note. Because if we can have that kind of impact on social media, they're going to have to start listening to some shit. And again, we had the blackout day. I don't know what the response was. I don't know if it had impact. Maybe many of you do. So please send me an email and give me some validation as to what happened on that day. But that's what I was concerned about. I'm promoting this thing, and then when it's over, I'm going to be responsible for telling you how it went. But I don't know how it went. I haven't seen a real report as to how it went. I mean, when you're talking about election and 9 million people don't even get off their ass and vote in the most important election uh, in their lifetimes, am I to think that they're going to avoid shopping some places? People will think, well, I'll go there. Nobody else will. I'll be fine. And it's hard to say how people respond to these things. And I'd really like to know, and I hope to God it was effective. All right. Dear Mike, I enjoy your contributions almost daily. You exemplify what consistency means in making sense of what's happening in the US. I live and work in the Netherlands, where we have our own challenges. Between 2006 and 2010, I frequently visited Pipestone, Minnesota, where we built a factory of wind turbine blade production. One of my first realizations and shocks was how news broadcasts were already opinion shows back then. I could hardly believe how vastly different the reporting was between the two networks. Thanks to you and other content creators, I now understand that there are no real news programs anymore, just opinion shows, a daily dog and pony show for entertainment. I'm grateful to have found your podcast to better understand what's really happening. Guests like Old Soul and many others provide a variety of perspectives that give plenty of food for thought. Today, Kristen offered a sharp analysis of what she believes is going on. Last time, she already said that your fellow citizens need to step up and make their voices heard. We've decided to change our plans and will not be traveling to your beautiful country for the time being. Instead, we'll spend that money elsewhere, and perhaps you should consider doing the same, spending your money with companies that do not support the orange parrot. And I agree with you. I understand your point. I understand with other countries being angry and trying to shun us. I would do the same thing. I wouldn't think that you would do anything less. And I'm not hurt by that. That's exactly what needs to be done. In doing what you're talking about doing will further expose and weaken Donald Trump. During the apartheid era, my father refused to buy fuel from Shell, and many others did the same. In no time, Shell lost 60% of its revenue, forcing them to reconsider their operations in South Africa. The collective pressure of many small activists made a difference. Perhaps a quiet but strategic approach can once again help direct attention where it truly belongs. GOSA, and I think I pronounced that right, or GOSE, GOSSE. And I just heard another story that Norway is going to no longer allow American ships to fuel in Norway, whether it be, commercial or even military ships. And this is going to cause a problem because, when these ships are out and about and navigating the seas and going across the world, they need to make stops for refueling. And Norway was a very important spot for them to do that. And now Norway says, well, the way you're behaving, don't come here. There's no gas for you. I'm sure this hasn't even shown up on Donald Trump's radar because it doesn't affect him directly. But eventually he'll feel slighted about it and he'll try to do something in response to Norway. And what will he'll do will probably fuck it up even worse, without question. All right. As someone who has supported and worked on a legacy government systems, I have a few observations. First, some of these systems are hosted on COBOL language with databases going back to the 1960s. Second, I guarantee the muskrats are of the run till you break it mindset and barely know how to administer or program the systems. Further, at their age, they don't know what they do not know and will never admit to fucking something up. Third, they are not database administrators nor financial forensic experts. Most IT folks specialize in a few fields and other familiar with other computer disciplines stay in their lane. It's the equivalent of having a proctologist perform brain surgery. The proctologist, as a doctor, might give brain surgery a shot, but at best, the patient will be smelling burnt toast the rest of their lives. Musk wearing his IT support t-shirt at Trump's cabinet meeting, stating he might make mistakes, reflects what an a-hole cowboy he is. He is his feeble reporting and the unmonitored access his incels have been granted is insane. Good luck sorting out the breach. Who is going to tell Gramps his Social Security check will be a few months late? Thanks, Paul. All right, continuing on. Hi, Mike. Still so grateful for your podcast. Recently, 3 Chinese warships have been operating in Australia's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, EEZ, off the east coast for a week. The vessels conducted unannounced live fire exercises in the Tasman Sea, some 340 nautical miles from Sydney. Will the USA come to our aid if this escalates? Regards, Dr. Judy, Australia. It's a good question. Will we help? How much money you got in your pocket? Because that's it. That's what Donald Trump's going to insist. It's going to have to be transactional for him. He's going to need something if you want something from him. And it's frightening for me to say this to you. Under normal circumstances, America would be at the ready and ready to do whatever is needed. But with Donald Trump at the helm, nothing is guaranteed. Certainly nothing good is guaranteed. I hope that these people just go away and don't come back for a while. But I think as Europe has pointed out since this meeting with Zelensky, we can't count on America for anything, nothing at all. So they're going to have to regroup and figure out ways to protect themselves financially and militarily and otherwise, even financially for that matter. That's the unfortunate situation. Donald Trump has put us in a situation where we cannot be trusted. So, Judy, honestly, I can't answer your question. I don't know. I would hope we would. But when it has to do with Donald Trump, no one fucking knows. All right, next one. Hey, Mike, watch that shit show, Dirty Diaper Donnie. And I must say, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. How can he talk to the president of another country like that? I was literally shouting out at the TV, something really needs to be done about this freak show. Listen to your show every day, hoping for the best from Canada, Terry. And as I said, that performance was easily the most embarrassing, ridiculous performance of any politician in America in history. That was so immature, so amateurish, and so embarrassing. I hate to say the fact that I live in the United States and that is our president. It's just so fucking embarrassing. And I agree with you 100%. All right, next one says, hi, Mike, long time, no email from me to you, not since the election. I still listen every day. Donald Trump should resign. His actions today was the most shameful act of cowardice ever committed by a U.S. president, ever. Marco Rubio should resign. He's always been pro-Ukraine and a hawk on Russia. I feel a kinship with you because I've been wrong on all the same things you've been wrong on. I guess we overvalue the intelligence of the people. Keep doing what you're doing. Scott in Redneck County, Pennsylvania. Yeah, any of the failures I've had, anything I've been wrong about, it's because I overestimated the intelligence of the people in this country and the decency of our courts and of our politicians. Sad to say, I've overestimated them, and apparently so has Scott. And it's frustrating. I mean, I always feel like it can always lean on logic and common sense. This is how it's got to work out because all the parts are in line. But when that doesn't work, it gets very confusing. I don't know how to look at it. Now it's just a shot in the dark. And I don't like that situation where you don't really know. There's no way to figure it out. My mind is such as I'm immediately trying to figure out any situation that I'm confronted with. And when I use all my normal tools and they don't work, I don't know what the fuck to do at that point. And you're right about Marco Rubio. Little Marco Rubio was a big supporter of Ukraine for many years. And the interesting thing about it is he goes on television yesterday and he says that Zelensky should apologize to Donald Trump. Donald Trump needs them to submit. That's his whole game here. I need to win. I need to be the strong man, and you need to cower and give up and apologize. Marco Rubio said that Zelensky incited this whole thing, took it to that level by having the audacity to ask Donald Trump a question. Marco, we all watched the goddamn thing. We know you're gaslighting. We know you're full of shit because we saw exactly what happened. In a negotiation, both sides get to talk. Both sides have questions. Both sides have demands. That's how a negotiation works. You would think a motherfucker that wrote a book called Art of the Deal would have some sense of how negotiations work, but clearly he doesn't. He's used to being the bully and pushing his will on people and having them bend a knee or bend over and take whatever he gives them. But the problem is in this negotiation, Donald Trump wasn't willing to give anything, and he acknowledged that in this press conference. So for Zelensky to bend to him and do this would be pretty much giving away his country for fucking nothing. Now, granted, it's not optimal that he leaves there without some kind of deal and he doesn't have the support of the United States of America. But I tell you what, if he would have gave away those minerals, Donald Trump still wouldn't have helped him. I guarantee you that. So he did the right thing. He had to be strong. He had to be a leader. He had to be a man. All the things that nobody else in that room were able to pull off. All right. Thank you, Scott. All right, next one says, hi, Boomer. I'm currently sending this letter to my senators and all of my New York State representatives. I'm also sending to as many Democrats in the House of Representatives I can, especially those I know that are actively speaking out across the country. If there are any way for you to share, please feel free to do so. Thank you for all you do and continue to do. Okay, here's an example of what Gabrielle wrote. Actually, I think Gabrielle's is a gentleman. Doesn't matter. I apologize if I got it wrong either way. February 28th, 2025. Dear Senator Schumer, I'm writing to express my dire concerns with what is happening in Washington, D.C., and to request that the Democratic Party come together to do two things. I'm writing to many of the country's members of the House of Representatives, Democrat and Republican, to request that they bring forward articles of impeachment so that Donald Trump can be impeached and removed from office. What he has done and continues to do is blatantly illegal and unconstitutional. The second thing that I'm requesting is that the Democratic Party begin to treat this administration as the national and global emergency that it is. This situation is at a level of what we're dealing with at the height of the COVID pandemic. I'm a resident of New York State, and during the height of COVID, Governor Andrew Cuomo and his daily briefings were a lifeline to most of us living in New York State. What we are demanding now is that the Democratic Party begin holding daily press conferences. In these press conferences, leaders of the Democratic Party can be informing the public of what is being done to protect the people of our Constitution from Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the rest of these useless idiots who are destroying our democracy. These press conferences can also be used to share facts and truths and to dispel the blatant lies that Donald Trump and his cronies are spewing to the media. Please do everything in your power to begin to combat Trump with words and truthful messaging. The people are afraid, panicked, desperate. We need our leaders to show us and tell us that there is hope. This is my heartfelt plea to you, Senator Schumer. I will write to you every single day if I have to. Sincerely, Gabrielle. And I think that's a wonderful letter. I think that's what we've got to do. I don't think one letter will have an impact, but thousands of letters will make them stand up and take notice. And I think your idea for a daily press conference is a good one. I've said all along what we need to do in this country is to control the narrative, make more noise than Donald Trump. They will try to divert, they will try to distract, but as long as we're talking louder and bringing facts to the surface, we can at least try to combat them. I think that's good advice. And I would hope that Schumer and some of the other politicians would heed that request. All right. The next one says, hello, Mike. Trump disrespected President Zelensky on arrival when he said, I see you dressed up for the meeting. Then Brian Glenn of Real America's far right news network and Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend asked President Zelensky why he didn't wear a suit. Zelensky dresses to show support for his country against Putin. Zelensky said he would wear a new suit when his country was at peace. Why was the press at this meeting anyway? Sam in Georgia. Well, it was, for all intents and purposes, a press conference. But something interesting about this press conference. Reuters and AP were not allowed to attend this press conference. AP because they continue to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico and not Gulf of America. And this pisses off little tiny hands, dirty diaper Donnie Trump. And so he's punishing them. I'm not sure what Reuters did, but what you have to understand is AP and Reuters are a couple of the preeminent news media outlets in this country. Two of them that are most trusted, and you can count on them. And Donald Trump pushed them out. But that wasn't bad enough. What he also did was he invited a Russian news agency, and I use that term news agency lightly. He invited TASS. Now, I've been hearing about TASS since I was a kid. And TASS, while they call it a news agency for Russia, is little more than a propaganda arm of the government. Has always been and always will be a propaganda arm. So Donald Trump kicks out two very important news agencies from America and invites in a Russian news agency. You have to understand, Donald Trump has been compromised by Russia. He proved that in that press conference, siding with Russia over Ukraine. J.D. Vance showed he was compromised. All the Republicans that support them are compromised. But the most important thing about this is if they're all compromised, so is this entire country. So is all of us. We are compromised. We're in trouble right now because of the things Donald Trump is allowed to do. We need to push back against this. We need to stop this bullshit because it's getting out of control. What Donald Trump did in that press conference came off very badly for him. I know he thinks he thought he was strong there, but that's not how it came out. You can go anywhere in the world and read a newspaper or anywhere in this country, and you hear talk about Donald Trump's shameful and idiotic performance. I'm sure this is driving Donald Trump nuts. He hates looking bad, and he couldn't have looked any worse. All right, the next one says, hi, Boomer. I honestly don't listen to every single episode now because I'm still finding my strategy for the next 4 years, but I never miss Old Soul or Ed. The other day, I was reminded of Soul's prowess as a communicator. She reminds me of senior partners at top consulting firms. I feel like the other day she was almost begging you to see the gradients between being realistic and being a pussy-ass bitch. It's a big gap there, Brother Boom. Now, I spent my life in high-ticket technology and services selling, and any listener who doesn't know that will know when I say that we are trained to be cynical pricks and for our sales strategies to reflect that. If you're a Republican strategist right now, you know it's exactly what Soul said. We can do any fucking thing we want, including Social Security. Hell, you could walk in his house, kick his dog, call his kids fugly, kiss his wife full on the mouth, and this stupid motherfucker will still vote for you. If I was them, I'd be saying we literally have a responsibility to go draconian at this point in time. Now, I don't know if that makes me a pussy ass bitch. You met me, Boom. You'll agree this doesn't look like the face that's never been punched. Just say there's some room between realism and fatalism. Best Garage Door Jeff. That being said, I believe, like you, that this orange malignant fuck will crash and burn due to overreach. Don't forget, we currently have an over-under for a cheeseburger on 1 year. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I've gotten some heat about this. Old Soul and I had a little go around about it because she was coming off kind of fatalistic. They're going to do it. It's definitely going to happen. And I will tell you this, Garage Door Jeff, there's more to it. What I'm trying to say is if you're sitting in front of me and we're going to war and you tell me it's already over, I don't want you fighting with me because you aren't in the right mindset to do that. You got to be expecting to win no matter what you do. And if there is no hope, what's the point of fucking fighting? The other thing I have to tell you, and I've said this before too, is on this program and on my TikToks, I come to find that there's a lot of people who come here for hope, some insights, and try to keep sane. And when I sit here and I tell people, if I was to tell people that there is no hope and that this is definitely going to happen, I'm going against what's brought me where I am today. You understand? Somebody's got to have a positive attitude about this stuff. Now, if you want to be fatalistic about it and call it realism, that's fine. I'm not going to do that because I don't concede a loss before I lose. I'm just not going to do that. And I'm sorry if you disagree with me. And I'm sorry if Old Soul disagrees with me, but that's who I am. And since it's my show, I'm going to do it the way I fucking do it. Now, understand when I say that, I'm not giving people false hope and I'm not just making shit up just to make you feel good. I believe what I'm saying. And I believe it because I look at the situation and try to decide how people are going to react. Now, in terms of the election, some other things, I was wrong there because I overestimated the intelligence of people in this country and the decency of politicians. That said, you can't then just take logic and common sense and facts and throw them out the door and just throw a fucking dart against the wall and hope against hope that you're right. You still have to study it. You still have to try to figure it out. And at some point, common sense and logic will work because the reign of Donald Trump and the bullshit that is the Republican Party will come to an end. It's inevitable. There's no question about that. I've never met a malignant narcissist who hasn't crashed. I'll grant you, this is taking longer than I expected, but it will crash. And that performance in this press conference, to me, seems like the start of it. It was right out there for everybody to see. So if you're asking, could they go into Social Security and fuck with Social Security? Well, of course they could. My point is, if they do that, and I'm sure they understand this, this goes DEF CON whatever, because the streets will be full and people will be mad as hell. And it won't just be Democrats. It'll be Republicans. It will be everybody. It impacts everybody. The moment the moment the first person doesn't get their check for Medicaid or Social Security, shit is going to go off and it's going to be big. Now, I would like to think that the Republicans understand that and want to avoid that. Logic would tell me that. Do I know that for sure? No, I don't know that for sure, but we have to look at the facts. We have to have some hope going forward. So if you want to be fatalistic and Soul wants to be fatalistic, cool. But I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing it here because if there's no hope, there's no point in even doing the fucking show, right? So I'll do my show my way. You do you, I'll do me, and we'll try to get along as best we can. All right, next one says, Dear Mike, I'm so glad that Senator Bernie Sanders is going all over the country, starting his Fall of the Oligarchs tour in 2025 all over this country and putting his voice over this fucking administration. It's about freaking time someone from the Democratic Party stands up and puts these billionaires on their asses for everything that they have caused to this country ever since Trump's first day in the Oval Office. Yeah, and the motherfucker that does it has to be 85 years old to do it. That's a little embarrassing for some of these younger folks. I just saw a TikTok video of the FBI Director Kash Patel not siding with Elon Musk or Donald Trump over federal employees, getting the 5 things that you have to get done for the week or that you've done for the week. Email bullshit and siding with the employees. I truly believe that this is the downfall of Trump and Elon Musk relationship. And this regime is just the beginning, and it's going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride that's not stopping for damn sure. I believe this is like the Goliath roller coaster at Six Flags, and they are going to be shitting their adult diapers. AOC was in New York the other day talking to federal employees who were either laid off or fired and explaining how we can fight back and take control of our country from this administration. Jasmine Crockett and Cory Booker are sharing their voices and standing up like uh, Senator Bernie Sanders and House of Representatives AOC, because this is our country and the billionaires don't run for our lives. Don't run our lives, I'm sorry. I have to give my full congratulations and honors to former Madam Vice President Kamala Harris for winning the NAACP award last night and the speech she gave after her devastating loss to the Orange Clown. If I was there, I would just listen, probably start bawling, and just embrace her courage to keep being there for the people who voted for her. And now, and how she's showing up at sporting events while being outside venues with her fans and voters. I'm joining a digital revolution meeting on Tuesday to see how I can fight against fascism and oligarchy as a neurodivergent autistic person who's not afraid to fight for the country that I still love. But bullies like Elon Musk and Dirty Diaper Donnie are going to be non existent from this world. When that day comes, I'm going to party in the streets with the people who are protesting all over this country. We are going to continue fighting for women's reproductive rights and hope the Department of Education is still existing for families of disabled children who are seeing an IEP meeting, but the oligarchs cannot take away our Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid when the millions of senior citizens and people of various ages who rely on these services. If they even decide to take those services away, just like Analytical Eric and Will have said on TikTok lives, there's going to be pitchforks and torches marching to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and it's going to be a revolution like never seen before. And I agree with you. I'm following the Midas Touch Network, the Rational Boomer podcast, Chasing Oz, V from Under the Desk News, and Aaron Parnas on TikTok and Substack. Take care, man, and let's keep fighting the good fight. Trevor. Good note, Trevor, and I couldn't agree with you more. Everything you said. Absolutely. We got to keep fighting. We can't give an inch. We can't let our spirits down. And as I said earlier, this is about, instead of crying and whining and worrying about what might befall us, it's time to get angry. And it's time to harness that anger, focus that anger, and use it to our best advantage. Put that anger where it belongs, on Republicans, on Donald Trump, on Elon Musk, on JD Vance. We got to keep pounding and keep pounding. I'm sorry that we have to go through all this. We could have avoided it by simply voting for Kamala Harris, but no, motherfuckers, you could not do that. So here we are. All right. Good morning, Boomer. It's been a while since I wrote last. It's been a fucking month and some. So I'm listening to your podcast with Denise and thought, let me look up the EO pertaining to Doge, and here's the link. And there's a link there. Just look up on whitehouse.gov and search Doge. It definitely states that it renamed the United States Digital Service to the United States Doge Service. Very interesting how they did that. It doesn't say anything on who's the head, though. I do hope the email that was sent the other day by Doge is the start of breaking the camel's back. All Trumplafucks have as a response, the ones who are deeply embedded, is just wait. He just got into office. It's a broken record. It's really sad. And my friend, the Dominican naturalized citizen, she's starting to open her eyes. We were at a restaurant the other day and she wouldn't let me buy a Coke due to their letting ICE raid facilities. So I asked her, does this mean you would change your vote if you could? She thought about it and said, not yet. I guess it's a step in the right direction. I will tell you this. If you voted for Donald Trump in 2016, I might give you a pass. If you voted for him in 2020, no, you knew what you were getting into. No pass. And in 2024, I hate your fucking guts because you should know better, especially if you're an immigrant. The Social Security and VA stuff, if they do cut those, the Republicans are done. I'm not mad at the Dems sitting right now. I kind of liken it to the Latina mom, whereas Where's Will? He can attest to this. A Latina mom will tell their children, don't do it. The child will do it and get hurt and start crying. The Latina mom will just sit back and watch the child cry and then say, sigue, which means keep doing it. I still continue to listen to your podcast every day, insightful and informative as always. And I love the lives where you bring people in. I'm on the East Coast times and usually in bed when they do them. I get up at 3:30, so I haven't been able to jump in one yet. Have a great day, Boomer, and keep up the good fight, Artie from Long Island. All right, next up. So I just saw an interesting statement, and I think you touched on it with Denise, the historian. They, MAGA, are only crying now because they're being treated how they voted for other people to be treated. I couldn't agree more with this. Artie from Long Island. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what these people do. Um, they will be the tough guy. And then when you push back and are tough in return, they start playing the victim. Oh, no, how could you do this? I get this all the time. People will come to me and say, oh, I can't believe you resorted to calling names. I thought you were better than that. Well, if you thought I was better than that, you haven't been fucking listening. You haven't been listening at all. I'm not going to be the bigger person here. I'm going to fight the fight that's in front of me. And if that fight happens to be dirty, I'll be just as fucking dirty. And that's the only way we win this situation at all. Hi, Mike. I have a quick question about executive orders the president is signing. Are they only valid for 60 days until Congress has a chance to vote on whether they'll become law? John. Yeah, I believe that's correct. It's either 60 or 90 days, but that's all the longer they can be enforced until Congress reacts to them. Um, Donald Trump can enact laws in like emergency situations with these executive orders, even though it's not emergency situations. But ultimately, Congress has to approve them. And that will be a problem for Donald Trump because many of these will not get improved. So you're absolutely right about that. All right. The last two emails are from the same person. Hi, Boomer. Jackie here from Brocass, Alabama. I listened to a question asked, do you think Trump would help Putin? I mentioned that earlier. If he could do, if he could do that, that would be considered treason. I don't think he can get the military to agree to that. I read the military could arrest Trump if he goes too far. When Trump goes, all of his clown show buddies go as well. And I think we would still have a problem. Trump is not smart enough to think of all that shit he's doing. And she goes on to say, did you all hear that FedEx is suing Mike Lindell for $8.8 million for unpaid shipping fees? Just thought I'd give you some good news. Jackie from Brocass, Alabama. Isn't that funny? You don't hear anything about Mike Lindell these days, do you? Donald Trump could give a fuck about Mike Lindell. There's nothing to be gained by hanging out with Mike Lindell. And as we warned Mike Lindell while this was all going on back in 2020, he would get hung out to dry because he's not important to Donald Trump. Nobody's important to Donald Trump right now. He's going to throw everybody under the bus because he doesn't need votes and he's got the position to grift all the money he fucking wants. That's just what it's going to be. Now, in terms of the other point that was made about sending troops or money or weapons to Russia and how that would be against the Constitution and the military could arrest him. This is true. This is true. However, Pete Hegseth runs the military. Donald Trump runs Pete Hegseth. He can cause them not to do anything in spite of what's going on. But I'd like to take it a step farther as we wrap up this Rational Boomer podcast. People have talked about how they would remove Donald Trump from office. Some people have said the 25th Amendment. Some people have said impeachment. And all of those things are possible as Donald Trump continues to fuck up. But in order for that to happen, it's going to have to be initiated by the Republicans because they have the majority in the House and the Senate. It would have to be initiated by Republicans. And a 25th Amendment would have to be initiated by J.D. Vance and his cabinet to start with. So that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. But similar to what you were talking about, him sending um, weapons to Russia or helping out Russia, he's already violated the 14th Amendment on national television. A person who gives aid and comfort to our enemy cannot be in office, cannot take a seat in office, whether it be president or anything else. And he did that during that press conference. He sided with Russia. He did it in front of all of us. He gave aid and comfort to a country that is our adversary, in spite of our ally, which happens to be Ukraine. Again, we go back to the point, he violated the Constitution. Here's a real reason you could impeach him or just throw him out. That's the real reason. But again, we have the problem that it's something the Republicans would have to buy into. And the Republicans will ultimately buy into it when the cost gets too high, when Donald Trump becomes too much of a liability. They're going to wring him out for all he's worth, every benefit they think they can receive by holding on to Donald Trump. And the moment he becomes too big a liability, you will see an impeachment. And what he did in that press conference and some of the other things he's done, he's definitely violated the 14th Amendment. So if the Republicans decide to do something like that, they have justification for it. They have evidence for it. So it could be done. We all have our fingers crossed that the Republicans will do this ultimately. I would have thought they've done it by now, especially all that's happened. But I honestly believe, and I think Eric believes this too, ultimately it has to happen because Donald Trump will destroy the country, certainly, which will work against the Republicans, but he will destroy the Republican Party in the process. And when the Republicans think it has gone too far, they will have to do something to put a stop to it. Again, I'm talking about logic and common sense, and that hasn't come into play in this whole scenario. So who fucking knows? But eventually there will be a red line. There'll be a bridge too far, and they will have to react that way. All right, we are going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.